Kia ora team, Coach Brad here. Now I've been a physio for 25 years and a coach for around 20. I have literally assessed hundreds of runners with their form, and I've come across two broad groups that I think will have some important lessons for you. Now the first group have a pretty stable core, but they have a very tight hip range. So they tend to run quite upright. They run with a very compact stride. Now, they don't waste much energy, but they do really miss out on that flowing style due to that compact stride. Now, don't get me wrong, having a compact stride can be good, but you will miss out on your true performance potential if you don't increase that range with your hips. You can also continue to drive tight hip flexors by not using the end range of that hip range. So those muscles don't get used, they get tighter and they get weaker. And with our population sitting more, this can create problems, a real decrease in stride length, leading to a decrease in performance, increase in injury over time. The second group that I see a lot of are the runners that have good hip mobility, but they have weak core. So they tend to overstride and they leak energy on impact. So what you'll see is they tend to sway as they run, and on that impact they will dip that hip, so the hip will dip down as they leak energy. This is sometimes called a Trendelenburg sign. So the hip range may be good, they might have that lovely long flowing stride, but without that core control to hold form on impact, then it's really inefficient. And I've seen a lot of injuries in the hip, knee, ankle and lumbar spine from this type of running. To run to the best of your ability, you need to have a strong core paired with fantastic hip mobility. So that is great range and fantastic control through that range. The platform for this efficient movement pattern is a strong core. Once you have a strong core, you can work on that mobility, that range, and then it will come together, work in harmony, and you'll get your true performance potential. So, how do you develop core control and hip mobility? Well, lucky for you, I've developed a 5-minute follow along that's going to work on both. With any new training idea or routine, start within your capacity, take the modifications if needed, and gradually progress. Try this in a 6-week block, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and watch your running improve. So, how do you develop core stability and hip mobility? Well, lucky for you, I've developed a 5-minute follow along that's going to work on both in a really efficient time manner. So what do you need? You need a yoga mat, some kind of matting. You need a chair with a towel on top just to cushion it. That will come in handy later, I promise. You need a timing device. And I always like to have what I'm going to do written down as well so I can follow that along. So are you ready? Are you ready to get strong, core strong, and also mobilize that hip? Here we go. Okay team, before we get into this 5-minute follow along, there is a new exercise that I want to introduce that you might not have come across. It's called a Copenhagen Plank. So what we're doing is actually working on our side plank position, but the top leg is actually taking the brunt of the force, so you're working your adductor complex rather than just the glute med. So I want to demonstrate and give you some modifications before we get into this. So a Copenhagen Plank is top leg, this is why we need the towel just to cushion, and then you hold, and then you can mobilize that bottom leg, so mobilizing the hip in the downward position. Now if that's too tough, you can make it a little bit easier by making sure that maybe the calf is that pressure point, okay? And then if you find that quite good, you want to progress it, then come on out and have the ankle as the pressure point. And that means you've got a little bit more leverage to play with. It's a little bit harder to hold. So pick the point you want to start at and let's go. Okay team, let's get into it. We're going to start in the front plank position and we're going to hold this for 30 seconds starting from now. So 30 seconds front plank, and we're going to mobilize those hips. So you're going to take that knee up to your elbow, and you're going to maybe try and do that anywhere between 6 and 10 times. Okay, so we're halfway through, that's 15 seconds. So you just want to mobilize those hips and try and keep that core stability. So that's coming up to 30 now. So now we head to 30 seconds side plank. So nice and controlled. And again, if you want to, mobilize those hips. So bring that knee up. Nice and controlled. Anywhere between 5 and 10 times. If that's too hard for you, then just do it maybe 2 or 3. So nice and controlled. We've got around 10 seconds left. Now, flip on over. 30 seconds on the other side. Nice, straight and stacked. Make sure that shoulder, hip, and knee is aligned. And then again, moving that knee up. So mobilizing that hip while maintaining that core stability. Nice and controlled. All right, 5 more seconds here, team. Try and keep it nice and controlled, breathing in the nose, out the mouth. Now, we've done about 1:30. Next, we move on to 60 seconds in the front plank. And again, try and mobilize those hips, bringing that knee up to your elbow. This is a bit of a longer hold. So we're here for 60 seconds. Again, try and keep the breathing under control. And you're mobilizing those hips anywhere from 5, maybe even up to 15 times. Right, got around 10 seconds to go, so just try and hold it. Keep it nice and strong. 5 seconds. Now, let's move on to our Copenhagen Plank. So we're 30 seconds here. So the top leg is actually resting on the top of the chair. So we're actually working the groin, the adductor complex. And again, if you can, mobilizing. Nice and controlled. This is quite tough. This exercise isn't used a lot for runners, but it really helps improve that stability around the hip. If that's one side, then the other, same thing. Top leg on top, try and remain as stable as you can, and then mobilizing the underneath leg, moving that knee up. That's it. Try and remain as controlled as you can. 5 more seconds. Nice work. Now we're on the home straight. 30 seconds front plank. Again, trying to mobilize those hips while you're working on that stabilization through the core. So the number you do is dependent on your capacity. Start within it and then progress the number that you can manage. Right. And then side plank. So round, make sure you're straight and stacked. And again, move that knee up. You can also bring that arm into play. Make it a runner's side plank. 10 more seconds here. Awesome work, team. Last time round, 30 seconds. Here we go. Straight and stacked. Keeping the breathing under control, so in the nose, out the mouth. 15 seconds to go. Get that hip working. Control it through range as those core stabilizers work. 5 more seconds. And that's it, 5 minutes. Whoo! So, how'd you find that? It's a great little 5-minute follow along, broken into 3 chunks there, working on core stabilization while that hip is mobilizing. It's a great follow along to work on that harmony between stabilization of the core and mobilization of the hip. So, get out there and earn your miles. But hey, get stable and strong first, champion compassion, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next video.